Hello and welcome to today's episode of Date in a Blink, where we're joined by dating coach Lori Mendelsohn.
Modern dating sucks, but it doesn't have to. Here on the Date in a Blink podcast, you'll listen in on 10-minute voice-only speed dates between strangers. The experience is designed to move people beyond mindless swiping and marathon messaging. Our position on online dating? It's time to stop collecting pen pals and start, going on actual dates.
Online dating? That actually involves dating? Is that even a thing anymore? But for real, dating should be fun. We hope listening in inspires y'all to try new ways of meeting people. Tune in every other week to hear a new couple go on a date. In between, we'll talk to relationship experts about how the date went and what we can learn from it.
Will our handpicked podcast matches find love on these Blink dates? Or will they say goodbye to each other after 10 minutes and never look back? Tune in to find out.
Before we jump into today's episode, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain a bit. It's totally free, and Anchor will distribute the podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and lots of other podcasting platforms. Not only that, but it has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. It also lets you make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make your podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Today on Date in a Blink, we're excited to be chatting with Lori Mendelsohn, a dating coach who relies on her keen intuition to match singles and help facilitate a happily ever after. Lori refers to herself as a student of human nature, with a career path that's taken her through the fashion industry, the pet industry, and ultimately back around to her longtime passion, matchmaking. Lori has over 40 years of experience in successfully matching couples, many of whom are now married with kids and even grandkids. Her mission is to help divorced, widowed, and single professionals find a life partner. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
My pleasure, ladies. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. In previous talks, you've mentioned that you rely on your intuition to determine who would be a strong match. And I'm wondering, in addition to intuition, is there something you look for in people that signals whether or not they might make for a good match?
Yeah, absolutely. What I clearly pick up on is how they speak in terms of future or past. And if they are constantly talking about their ex, what their ex did, what their ex didn't do, they clearly have not gotten over that person. But if they speak in sentences such as, I'm looking for a person who has these qualities, and I am ready, and I am able, and I am excited, they speak in what will come versus what happened in their background. And that really gives me a clear indication that they're ready. They're ready to go forward.
Oh, I love that. I never really thought about how we think about those things, but it's so true in terms of thinking kind of like with a hopeful perspective about the future versus thinking more about kind of lost opportunities of the past. So I love that.
Good. Yes. And also about victimization. A lot of people still live in that space. And it will not help you in the future in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, let's move on with happiness and joy and hopefulness.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that actually goes nicely to the next question. On your blog, you write a bit about what it means to date with intention. One of the tips you give your readers is to decide what you want in someone and figure out if that person has your must-haves. What is the balance between staying true to yourself and your non-negotiables while also avoiding expectations that are set so high they become impossible to meet?
You know, ladies, that's a challenge that I see all the time, that people come with these lists, and these lists are impossible, as you said, to meet. And what I ask people to do is look at what you offer someone, and is what you are offering equal to what it is that you're looking for in another human being? So when I first started dating, getting out of my divorce, I had these lists. And as the years have gone on and I have become more secure in myself, I don't look for that other person to fill these voids that I once had. And so what I look for now is a complement to who I am right now and who I hope to be in the future. So what I look for is someone who has a joy and a zest for life and who wants to explore and is curious and not necessarily 6'1", has a job that pays $50,000, and I'm 5'8", so I would like someone who's 6'1". But it isn't the imperative here. What the imperative is do we bring the best out in each other? Will this person treat me with love, kindness, and respect? And is this person going to be there for me when I really need him? That's my must-have list. Not a Porsche, not a corner suite. There has to be a chemistry, a spark. But
right.
I've really shed this must-have list because why must you have this? What is it about you that you're lacking?
That reminds me, Laura, you had a spreadsheet, right, where you had deal breakers and negotiables, and you actually broke them out because it's fair to have a few deal breakers. Like if you want to have kids and they don't, like that's a pretty big deal.
Right.
So I remember, Laura, seeing your spreadsheet and how it was broken out, and that it really made you think about, what is actually something you need versus something you want, that at the end of the day, like nobody's going to check all the boxes. So maybe, we can think a little bit more fluidly about what we're looking for.
Yeah. Agreed. I have deal breakers. I don't want to be around a smoker. I don't drink. And if someone wants to drink, that's great. But I don't want someone with an alcohol addiction. I want someone with good dental hygiene and personal hygiene. Those for me are deal breakers.
Right.
Dental hygiene is also a number one thing for me. I'm kind of like going to the dentist. I'm like, do you floss? No. This has been a nice dinner.
Well, Laura, I will admit I didn't floss when I was in my 20s. It was like some point in my not later years, but like my late 20s that I probably started flossing regularly. So I'm sad to hear that would have been a deal breaker. We were dating each other.
Not a hard deal, but it was more, are you willing to instill good flossing habits? Okay. It was because some people were very adamant about, no, I like, how dare you try to, like, what are you, my mother? I'm like, no, I'm not. I want you to care about your own dental hygiene. I want you to have teeth long into, very many, many years into the future. You got to take care of them.
Right.
That's so funny. That could be a great first date question. Do you own a flosser?
Are you a flosser? And not the dance.
Oh, gosh. Well, Lori, you actually kind of alluded to this, but you've written on your website that you're out there in the trenches too, or in other words, you're navigating this wild world of dating just like your clients. Other than a deeper understanding of the dating scene, what have been some of the biggest takeaways from your own experience?
That's such a great question, and I could go on for minutes about this, but I'll try to do it very quickly. It was, I think the biggest takeaway for me right now is to release any expectation. Because in my generation, we were raised to believe that a prince would come on his white horse and pick us up and take us to his castle and take care of us, and our life would be amazing. And I think that we get so ahead of ourselves in dating, which is a natural reaction, that I think it's important to just stay in the moment, get to know the person, and see if you really even enjoy being around this person versus planning what it's going to look like. Live in the now. Ask a lot of questions. Be curious. And have fun with it, because dating should be fun. If you are with someone whose energy brings you down, notice it. Make note of it. See how you feel around it. And move on quickly. A lot of people say, well, you should give a guy at least 4 to 5 dates to see how you feel about him. I don't believe that. I believe that if you're happy on the first date, see what happens on the next one and move quickly through people. In my age group, I'm 66. We don't have a lot of time to waste. And in younger generations, if they don't have the same aspirations that you do, having a family, traveling the world, saving money, the same financial concerns, move on. Just move on. We don't need to be with another person. Another person is a nice extension and icing on the cake for our lives, but we don't have to have it.
I love that. It's one of the reasons I don't like the better half analogy, because I think we're all wholes on our own and other people can just add to that, but not complete us. It's not like we're missing anything.
Yes, agreed.
So in addition to what you shared, what has surprised you the most?
when I opened up my search and my criteria, and I let my criteria go of what I thought I really needed, I was really pleasantly surprised what came to me. The bodies were very different than what I expected, but I really liked the guys. The physical packaging was very different. And I'm a girl from LA, and I was in the fashion industry most of my life. And so, I hate to say it, aesthetics were important to me. But when I opened up my thinking of, this great man may be in this very imperfect body. And I also realized I'm very imperfect too. Why do I expect perfection out of a man when I am far from perfect myself? So when I opened up and let go and released, all of these great guys came to me.
Oh, I love that so much, because I think in today's dating world, we spend so much time thinking about that outer package without even thinking about what's inside. And that isn't to say the outer package doesn't matter at all, but you'd be surprised what's underneath sometimes if we just gave people a chance, and it can change your perspective of that outside part. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
In another one of your blog posts, you talk about balanced conversation and how important it is for both parties to be asking questions and not just leaving one person to carry the conversation. And I imagine a lot of people who have experienced this at one point or another, where the conversation is imbalanced and one person is carrying the conversation. So I'm wondering if you have any advice for facilitating a balanced conversation, and what's a tactful way to address the issue if the conversation remains unbalanced.
Well,
it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. And actually, because of my sense of humor, I feel very confident in saying, when a man just is so verbose that he keeps going on and on, I'll say, well, enough about you. Let's get back to me. But wait. And then when they snap out of it and they'll say, oh my God, I am speaking a lot about myself. And I will say, you are. That's true. I'm looking forward to you asking me a few questions too. And even though it's very direct and
kind of playful,
it gets the point across. So having a balanced conversation, people should keep in mind that in getting to know the person who is sitting across from you or hiking next to you, it's important that you ask, they answer, and then you give it back. You try to be very cognizant of not hogging the conversation, asking questions. And if they're not, it's okay to say, Steve, I've heard that you love to go ice fishing, and then you love to go camping, and your passion is to go to Tibet one day and hike. What are you curious about me? What would you like to know about me that maybe I didn't cover on my online dating profile? What questions do you have of me? And then, and rather than saying, well, enough about you. God, you haven't asked me one question. Dude, what's going on with you? It's very fair to say, what would you like to know about me? I'd like to share an experience that I had. This gentleman spoke for 45 minutes. Wow. I counted.
Oh my God.
Wow. 45 minutes about himself. And
how did you stay awake? I feel like I would just doze off
Well, as a dating coach, I like to glean experience from all of these, years that I have. And some of them make for really great blog posts. Right. So it's almost like people are giving me content and they don't know it. But this gentleman spoke for 45 minutes. And at the end of his diatribe, his monologue, he said to me, what questions do you have of me that I haven't?
Oh my God, no. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Yeah, it's true. And I said, I think you've covered everything magnificently. I do have to tell you, I don't think that we're a match. And I appreciate your time. And I wish you luck in finding your girl. And he was incredulous. I said, why?
But I'm so interesting.
Right.
Did you not just hear me for the last 45 minutes?
Yes. Yes. And I told him, I said, I don't feel important at all. You spoke about yourself and you didn't ask one question about me, and keep that in mind for the next woman that you have a phone call with.
Yeah.
So,
oh, good. It was on the phone. It wasn't in person. So you could at least multitask.
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh gosh. Okay.
Yes.
I was worried that you were sitting together and this person was just like talking at you for 45 minutes. Somehow it's a little bit better that it was virtual.
Yes. Well, I have a method, and the first is, you're texting, then a phone conversation, then either a Zoom or a FaceTime, and then you meet in person, because it just saves a lot. If you know that you're not attracted, why go down that path of getting ready and even going out on a date with someone?
Yeah, absolutely. Turning a little bit back to the balanced conversation, I'm curious, thinking about Allen and Kyla's date specifically, do you feel like they maintained a balanced conversation? And if not, how could they have approached it differently? And if so, what are some ways that they could have taken the conversation a step further?
Well, I'll tell you, I think after listening to it, I felt that Kyla really was very, very nervous. And out of her nervousness, she kept asking a lot of questions and she kept interrupting. And that is something when people are having a conversation, I don't do it all the time, but I will just count to one. When someone is finished speaking, I'll count to one. And then I will respond. So I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
I think they just it felt like they just were out of sync in terms of like both of them talking at once at various points. And I don't know that either of them intended to do that necessarily. It might have been like a mismatch of energies. So I definitely got a similar feeling in terms of how the flow of the conversation was. But to be honest, even hearing you talk about how you like to take ask a question and count to one or whatever it may be, like I need to work on that. And I will admit that because I feel like when Laura and I are in conversations together, sometimes I am much quicker to fill the silence than she is. And I've had to learn to kind of take a step back and wait a beat so that she can step in. And it isn't me like just, trying to talk over her. It's just, I'm just like a quicker, I just need to, and I'm snapping. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm just quicker to fill the silence. And I grew up in a world where that was normal. And so it's interesting to think about how that plays into dating, because people probably come up with different things and different approaches to silence. And, might be anxious about letting silence happen, but silence can be helpful. It's actually, I think, a negotiation tactic, not to say dating should be like negotiating, but it's a negotiation tactic to not say something sometimes to see what the other person responds with or offers up. So I think something similar can be said for dating.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think there was a study I was reading recently or heard about, can't remember where I came across it, but it was something along the lines of women actually, I don't know why I'm saying actually, but women have the tendency to want or feel a need to fill silence and will often do that, whether it's in an argument, a workplace conversation, dating somebody, trying to get to know someone. There's this strong desire to ultimately fill that silence. And I think I heard about it maybe 5+ years ago. And so I drastically changed how I relate to other people because I realized that I was kind of doing the same thing where I'm sorry, did the middle of your sentence interrupt the beginning of mine kind of a thing to a bunch of people. And I do think that I love the advice that you gave of pausing a second and consciously telling yourself to do that, to make sure that you're giving the other person that you're talking with some space. And then as you get more comfortable with people, I think you learn the talking patterns of each other, where people get excited, and it becomes a lot more natural. But in these beginning stages, I always think it's better to seek to understand rather than directly be understood, and seek to create a shared understanding and to create that kind of space. I think that's a really beautiful way and a really easy way to try to improve that direct communication in such a simple way.
Yeah, you just said something that reminded me of my corporate days, which was there was a saying which was called listen to learn. And it was when dealing with employees. And it's okay to even say to someone when you're on a date, you pause and you say, let me understand what you just said, without trying to sound like a therapist or a coach. I think what you just said is this, am I hearing you right? And that also creates a bond between the other person, because if you are hearing them right, they're getting this hit, of dopamine, which is, she gets me. And isn't that what we all want, is to make that connection of being heard, of being understood, even acknowledged? and so that can really help in the dating process. And I think oftentimes when we're listening, when we're nervous, we don't even listen to what people are saying. We're already saying to ourselves, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? How am I going to respond? And you're not even hearing the other person.
Yeah, no, I think that happens all the time.
I think it goes without saying that online dating in general can be kind of exhausting, and at times it can feel ruthless. What are some strategies for making online dating a more positive and enjoyable experience?
For me, I like to have fun in every aspect of my life. So I lead with humor. When I reach out to someone, I will say something funny. When someone reaches back to me, I will try to be very lighthearted about it. I think that we need to be respectful of people. We need to be respectful of their time. And if you're not feeling it, cut it off quickly. Thank them. Treat people as if you would in real life. You wouldn't just walk away from someone if they were in the middle of a conversation. You'd say, I got to go. I'm busy, or I need to wrap this up. You wouldn't just stop the conversation with them. I think that it's important to be choosy about who you converse with. I don't think it's about quantity. I think it's about quality. You want to invest your time in people who you think will be a good match for you. And I think it's also important to speak to a few people at one time. And you'll get to see if there's an ebb and a flow in your conversation, and if you really want to pick up the phone and go to the next step. But I think it's important really just to respond, thank people if it's not a good fit, be mindful that there is a human being on the other end of this phone or this laptop, that there are emotions or feelings behind that person, and to just be kind, just be your kindest, nicest self.
So the $1 million question, date in a blank. What did you think?
$1 million for this? Yay!
We're going to rephrase this. You're the second person who wants $1 million from us. $1 million monopoly. Okay, so a Monopoly $1 million question.
Okay.
Did you think that Allen and Kyla matched?
I don't think they matched.
Laura, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of nervous energy, and I feel like if it was the other way around, it would not have been a match, where if it was Allen who was asking a lot of the questions, actually, no, do I feel that way? I don't even know. I feel like if the conversation was the other way around, I wouldn't have thought it would be as much of a match, but I don't know. I was mediocre on this. I thought that they would want to continue the conversation and maybe have a chat offline somewhere where it's not on a podcast broadcast to lots of people. So that was my, I thought it would err towards a match. So what happened, Tali?
So they did actually match. They both said they were interested in continuing the conversation, but from what we understood afterwards, it didn't actually go anywhere. So, not much news to report, but they matched.
Next.
A couple final questions. So as we wrap up, a question we like to ask all of our experts. Do you have any quick words of wisdom or advice for our audience?
Yes. Be hopeful and imagine what this person let me take that back. Imagine this person in your life. I use a lot of visualization techniques. I imagine what he smells like, what he feels like, what he sounds like. And I keep imagining him coming to me. And that's something that I do every morning. I walk along the shores of Lake Michigan. I live in Wisconsin. And in my walk, I do a walking meditation. And I say, I am ready for you. Come to me. And so I hate the word manifest, but I'm imagining him in my life. I am welcoming him. I want him. I'm ready for him. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. That is a tip that I use with my clients is imagine yourself around this other person. Imagine your life together. And that keeps you hopeful and engaged. And it just keeps you going on.
I love that. I love the hopeful approach. And a final question for you. Thank you so much for all of the advice you've already given us today and for joining us. But I am wondering if our audience wants to get connected with you, how could they go about doing that?
Well, thank you for that. So people can reach me by phone, which is area code 414-914-5715. They can reach out to me at hello@avconnections.com, and that's spelled AVCONNEXIONS.com, or at avconnections.com. Or Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My name is Lori Mendelsohn. It's MENDELSOHN. I am on all those active platforms. So
awesome.
Lots of ways. Carrier pigeon too would work.
I was going to say we're going to include it all in the show notes, but I don't know how to include the carrier pigeon information.
Yeah, I think DHL stopped sending those.
But FedEx, Laura, they might still have them.
Oh, yeah, FedEx is with it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you, ladies, so much.
Yeah, thank you, Lori.
That's all we've got for you today. Shoot us a message on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at @TheBlinkDate or at @DateInABlink to let us know what you think. If you want to try voice-first speed dating from the comfort of your home, download the Blink Date app today. You can also sign up to participate in Date in a Blink by visiting our website at www.theblinkdate.com. In the meantime, thanks for joining us for this episode. We hope you enjoyed listening and look forward to talking with you again next time.